Lama dang gong bon jen jen jambe yang yan za lo gang ge lo zhen zhen ye zhen da nian da nam da ra sa wei jian nian deng gen jie xian zhen zhe nian jian dong ka ra le bang de gang da se bei zhen ra ma re men doi dong an ge se wei Tròn rồi còn lối bố chế tra chế yên lối trô chô yang đề dô trô tra chế trô nhé mô nhé lô lê chế cho trô trô dê chinh rê minh sê đông ơi nhung khởi chế nhé chân dê ra chế nam đề nê đào chế sa chế tra chế yên đen đen dô giáo dê đô về Chö tra chö tai chö nye jan tre da le min se jan be yang la de om mara ba de de mara ma de om mara om mara ba za na de den den je je ge ra ve sa je da le de mo min ba ra za ca dan den je xiang le do ma ye lo de ma be na wan zan dui so ngang ze da wen de ba yin jiang ze zhe wa ran de na gong bo jiang yang jin ye ne ge me ba yang dong wa rai zhou gong san du ze ga rai shi be ma jen ba ni shu ma so su ru nam nya de de ya za so ga de la ma nam la zo wa in de wo zang je ni be du je tre chen zhen zo jam zo ko lo nam da sam ye ni de den zhen guan chong ji len be xiao so wa in de jam ba chen la be me nam ba zhen jia se la je yang se jiu so ka ba den den ben ma en dong a len jia yang jian ze wang bu shu wa in de ga de long jian be re nam ba zhen ze jian nam nge xing de lam su jian 人们等真言等家子，论真他也小论所谓的无名之界，人间保障内的损伤结果。上生全国万孙等真本则为乱美小论所谓的。那么也他妈的一个那个当的人间，这么的灭个能当。 삼쟁게 돈 단지 제den도 만남 거다니 베심제 단제 상지제 살랑거 버차 대체도 ngay 담배 쳐서모 내내 냠술랑데 대다기 된도 버지고 냠대 장주스 꿀렁 설답데 심버쇼스.
So please listen with the motivation of bodhicitta, thinking that for the purpose of establishing all my mother sentient beings equal in extent to space, equal in extent to the sky, for the purpose of establishing them all on the level of Buddhahood, I will now listen to the Dharma, put it into practice, and attain the result.
아니 같이 셈버스 치데 라메투 버지건 세정 원도 테레스 땅 원도 텔라 네 지된 텔라 원도 직접 원도 같이 임바 원도 냠네 제딩 디숨 원도 소사도 자인술 원도 예와다체 나요레스 마슈베 나네 테니 시공도 시스데 탈로 나바테레스 원도 예와 갑스레스.
So the teaching today is on the preliminary practices of the dispeller of all obstacles, accomplishing the Guru's heart, accomplishing the Guru's awakened mind, or the Guru's heart practice, dispeller of all obstacles. And so there are 5 main topics in this teaching: the meaning of the words, preliminary practices, the way in which the preliminary practices are important, the extensive, medium, and concise length preliminary practices, how preliminary practices purify the obscurations and gather the accumulations, and the different types of preliminary practices. So among those five, we are now on the the fifth, the last one, the different types of preliminary practices.
Tene ngaba ngondro yewa layang tene jorwa ngondro, tunji ngondro, ngoshi ngondro yo sumyo be nane kapsu baba ngoshi ngondro kapsures.
And among the three types of preliminary practices, which are the preliminary practices of material items, the preliminary practices to the meditation session, and the preliminaries to the main part, we are now on the third, the preliminaries to the main part.
ngoshi ngondro telayang tene timongchi ngondro, tumi nanji ngondro se nye be nane kapsu baba timongchi ngondro res.
And as for the preliminaries to the main part, there are two sections there, the outer common preliminaries and the inner uncommon preliminaries. And we are now on the first of those two, the outer common preliminaries.
timongchi ngondro layang tene payewa chesona tene loto namba shi siyores, loto namba shi bo nangla tene tajurnya kawa tsemi dapa le jumre kuru mix na siyores.
So the outer preliminaries, they consist of the four thoughts that turn the mind from samsara. And these four thoughts are the difficulty of obtaining the freedoms and advantages, death and impermanence, karma, cause and effect, and the faults and sufferings of samsara.
근데 단다 값을 봐봐 다저리냐 barkawa 대 안에 가장 공도다 슈당 슈네 다 차로요레스.
And so today we're just reached near the end of the teaching on the difficulty of obtaining the freedoms and advantages. We're still in this first section and about to finish it.
근데 다저리냐 barkawa 대 되는 말한 근거에 되는 강 계계라고 슈바인스 이나양 되는 나기 개바 슈용도 되는 다저리냐 barkawa 창마 말리바 영수 속바 상화싱의 시도바를 베스나 되는 시도부 말에스.
So for my part, I have given as an extensive explanation of the difficulty of finding the freedoms and advantages that I could. But on the other hand, if you were to wonder whether I have given the total teaching, this totally complete without leaving anything out, this I have not done.
다저리냐 barkawa야고 전에 삼로 땅바이나 필리핀 세상로 개바타요레스.
And so if you really want to contemplate the difficulty of obtaining the freedoms and advantages really well, it's possible to do that in a really extensive way.
자, 다저리냐 barkawa 텐다기 냠내 체용도 되는 가장 공동에게 펜도데 가리요레스나 정보 되는 거랑 최랑 가와기기를 송송 셈발라 가와기기를 다저리냐 barkawa 공바이나 정보 가와기기를.
So if we think about what are the benefits from contemplating the difficulty of obtaining the freedoms and advantages, as I explained a while ago, that first of all, from contemplating the freedoms and advantages, we will get a real sense of joy within ourselves.
테네 가와기술도 간다랬잖아. 테네 가장 공도 아니겠어요. 근데 다줄 때네 신도 있냐 볼까? 기부 텐도 또 버려 봐라. 가데텔라 펜바 마루나 시대 양다 저바 칼라지오 스자세 시와라의 송조기 책이 나기 책 당보 나온다. 다줄 때네 신도 있냐 볼까? 시바 나라. 테네 뭐 탈와 때바 케브라 책이 저라 때바도 오 딩이들라 키랑기 냠내 제용데 아니 계란기 귤라 테네 달와지 저와 쭉 창도문도 따용데 테네 창 가제 창 여바들라 때네 땅아 최체기 고갑식 알아도와 삼바신 가을리기레스 되니 고명.
So as far as how this joy will come about due to contemplating the difficulty of obtaining the freedoms and advantages, if we think about the verse from Shantideva that I have been explaining, which goes, these freedoms and advantages are extremely difficult to obtain, and they're a means for accomplishing the aims of a human life. If I don't turn them to my profit now, how could such an opportunity, a great opportunity, be mine again, right? So that was the verse from Shantideva. And the first line there, which says, these freedoms and advantages are very difficult to obtain. That first line teaches the basic identity or the basic nature of the freedoms and advantages, which are the 10, or sort of the 8 freedoms. That's basically what the freedoms and advantages consist of, is the 8 freedom. And they also, that line of the verse also teaches a kind of special features of the freedoms and advantages, which are the 10 advantages. So if we think about ourselves and our life and those 8 freedoms and 10 advantages and check whether we have them or not, then when we find that we have them, we will be very happy about that and get a real sense of joy that we have this opportunity. We will see that we have this opportunity to practice the Dharma that is difficult to find, and that will give us the sense of joy.
최체 그 고갑시라 이거이디 되네 가와지기로 말아야 최체 그 고갑지도 삼바 릴리비움으로.
So isn't that true that when we realize that we have an opportunity to practice the Dharma, that this will make us happy, this will give us joy, right? And when we think, wait a minute, now I have the opportunity to practice Dharma, this is really something good, it's something to be happy about.
네 이바데 유이고는 예버가와 베이고는 예버가와 장기고는 예버가와 된절라 삼라야고 다 된저 고미용화이나 네 최제되게 삼바지기레스.
So then after that, there's contemplating the difficulty of obtaining the freedoms and advantages in terms of their cause, in terms of the kind of numerical possibilities of obtaining them, and in terms of the analogies for how difficult it is to obtain them. So this also we should contemplate, go through those ways of contemplating it.
네 교부 텐도 토바르교발라 가데델라 펜바 마르나 치데 양다 줘바 칼라 교부시가 책솜더기 네 철라 죽도 철라 죽도.
So then we will also get a sense of joy from contemplating those, how difficult it is to obtain the freedoms and advantages in terms of their cause, the numerical possibility, and their analogies. And then the rest of the verse, which says these freedoms and advantages are the means for attaining the purpose of a human life. And if I don't take advantage of them now, how could such a great opportunity be mine again? With the rest of the verse, it basically allows us to really enter into the Dharma. Yeah.
전다인디 드네 다즈미 버가와드 콤바이나 담배 쉬지람나 죽두기도와 다 담배 쉬지람나 죽바이나 드네 펜도 가르여레스나 조베 산지지 고방 토버체발라 최양다 바시두고 최양다 바시두바테 담배 쉬지람나 죽고 여러 담배 쉬지람나 죽도바이나 드네 최디 두두기도와 다 최디 두두바이나 드네 산지지 고방 토두기도와 펜도 야시보도와.
So it is this contemplation of the difficulty of obtaining the freedoms and advantages that allows us to really enter the path of the Dharma. And then we should also contemplate what is the benefit of entering into the Dharma. Well, basically, we need to attain the state of a Buddha. That is the ultimate aim and the best thing we could possibly do. And in order to do that, we need to be able to practice the Dharma that leads to that state. And then in order to practice the Dharma that leads to that state, we need to, first of all, enter into the Dharma properly, to get into the Dharma in the right way. So we can see in that way that this first step of entering into the Dharma in the right way is has extremely vast benefits. It leads ultimately to the state of the Buddha.
먼저 다스리니 발과 공부이나 되네 제군이 담바토구도 아무 가와기 유든서 표현으로 제고를 철을 죽되게 받대야 표현을 제고를 철을 죽받대야 표현을 제고를 대다 남기 제고를 다 제봉어디 상제지 고만 토바이나 다 제봉어.
So this contemplation of the benefits or the difficulty of obtaining the freedoms and advantages, it has these two main benefits or results for us, which are one that it gives us a sense of joy about our opportunity, and secondly, it allows us to enter into the Dharma path properly. So these are the results and the benefits of contemplating the difficulty of obtaining the freedoms and advantages. But these benefits, this result is a result that is still, while we're on the path, it's a result of the path, so to speak. And then the ultimate result, the final result, is the state of awakening, this level of Buddha.
ngomda komge yorde nyamlen cheda chegorde ina nyamlen de tene 다즈르냐 바까기 nyamlen de 예 릉동 같이 chegore 아니 다즈르냐 바까기 nyamlen chena 제부 간데시 중 그래 아니 다즈르냐 바까기 nyamlen cheona 체데 간데 더버질 샤고래 생각나도 삼로 거로 나나도 독바 사성아 이나스.
So we all may practice this contemplation of the difficulty of obtaining the freedoms and advantages, and we all meditate on it and contemplate on it. But there is a question that we may ask, which is, how long should we do this practice? How long should we do this contemplation? And what is the result that we should expect from doing this practice? What is the proper result that we should get? And what is the kind of the measurement to check whether we have done this practice completely?
네, 고살람의 샬롬나가 따용나 되네. 자포르는 거지게 아니 기시쟁아 왔다고 시고고 요래. 그래서 다들이 버거 보면 본게 체라고.
So in his text, the words of my perfect teacher, Tukdrup Rinpoche, he gave the example of Geshe Chengawat as the kind of measurement or the result of how we should be after doing this practice.
근데 기시쟁아와디 다들이 버거의 체 멈춰디 아니 간데스니 샤송어레스나 되네. 기시쟁아와 공 되네. 최인념는 제 데베 값솔라 되네. 탕체네. 탕체용도 아니 기시쟁아와 고랑기 기긴 기시된바 페비용네 아니 경탄 알수당 알수시갑당 알수기레스 라브레스.
So in this example of what is the proper result or the kind of measurement that we should take to see whether we have completed this practice, Pelcher Rinpoche talks about Geshe Chengawa, and he's practicing and keeps on practicing continually a lot. He's practicing like to a very kind of a large, to a great degree. He's practicing a lot, and he is even getting tired from practicing. And then his own guru, Tumba, Geshe Tumba, Geshe Tumba comes and talks to him, seeing him in the state, and says, "Aren't you tired of doing all that practice?"
네 공기 가르쳐 말했으나 근데 날서 왔다 들려라 시래도 돼 이나양 니 다저ኛ 와까와 들라든 삼라야고 시다나 근데 날서롱도
So his guru Geshe Tumba says, maybe you should take a break and rest. And then Geshe Chengawa replied to him and said, well, yeah, resting is that's all well and good. It can be good to rest, but when I think about how difficult it is to obtain these freedoms and advantages, I really don't have any time to rest at all.
네 기실장어 공트니 다저ኛ 바라까와 기념는 숙침부 제용도 되니 텔라 되니 다저냐 와까와 기니 펜도 되니 공기 톡라 되니 가도 이나양 냠린 제지 삼바장 기용네 되니 뒤다도 냠린 제니 아니 닌당 첸라양 이고 말했으면 되니 로지요레
So then from his really thorough practice of the contemplation of the difficulties of obtaining the freedoms and advantages, Geshe Chengawa, he really internalized this teaching and completely mastered it within himself, so that he spent absolutely all of his time practicing the Dharma, and he would practice constantly day and night and wouldn't really even sleep very much. This is his story, his life story.
네 된대기 다저를 녀버까와 냠린 쳤나 제부 대다부식 아니 중조요레 이나양 알아서 다저냐 바까와 냠린 제송와이나 된대 용기도에 용기민도와 태 모양의 김제 가르스나 다저냐 바까와디 쌍마 야고치는 공기요 공투기요 말 공마투디 네 제부 용투기요 말 제부 용을 제불라 교야부고라
So it is possible to get this type of result out of contemplating the difficulty of obtaining the freedoms and advantages. This is the kind of result that one can get, like Geshe Chengawa. But we don't really get that result, do we? If we look at ourselves, we don't have that type of result. And then we can ask, well, why don't we have that result of this proper result of the practice? And the reason that we don't get the full result, the proper result of this practice, is that we are not doing this contemplation fully and properly, and perfectly. And because we don't do the contemplation ourselves fully and perfectly, properly, then obviously we won't attain the result. Because to get any kind of result, you need the cause for that result.
말한도 다저냐 바까와 냠린 체용도 갑라티니 다 가르쳐 버렸더니 나 소자에게 뒤즈면도 클라스에게 뒤즈면도 캠에게 뒤즈면도 삼바들의 리그민도 콩로 대답을 lep도 쟁아와라.
When we practice this contemplation of the freedoms and advantages, we can do we really get this result? Do we really find that we have the attitude that, oh, I don't have time to rest, because these freedoms and advantages are so hard to find. I don't have time to eat. I don't have time to go and hang out here and there. If we check ourselves, we don't really have this attitude. But Geshe Chengawa, he did have that exact attitude because he did this practice properly.
나랑도 가리요래. 공지도 다들냐 바가 공부요래. 이나야 냐레기 뒤져요래. 사에기 뒤져요래. 캬비에기 뒤져요래. 딱 대김생하래. 다들냐 바가 그 드리브디 많이 봐.
So how are we with this practice? How are we actually doing it? Well, we do contemplate it. We do meditate on it. But on the other hand, we still make our time. We consider that we have to make time to rest, and we have to make time to eat. We have to make time to hang out and go here and there. And so what has happened is that although we do the practice, we have not attained the result.
오늘 제나 다들냐 바가 공명도 근데 제부디 추르트 바차기 요러.
So really, actually, if we really practice this contemplation and attain the result, the result will be that we'll be able to accomplish the Dharma.
근데 추르트 바차한데 추기 독촉디 상마 근데 제라 콜레 뒤즈메 바차로.
And when we have this full ability to practice the Dharma, what it will be like then is that we don't really have time for anything else.
근데 이제 통화랑 저기 단다 다저냐 바가 검도 공부요. 드리브디 많이 용디 드리브 톱족될 때는 데이트 삼로 땅고요레스.
So given that this is the case, that we do do this contemplation, but we haven't attained the result, given that that is so, then it is important for us to think about how we should meditate on this topic properly, how we should do this contemplation properly.
저저냐 바가와 삼네 가와기 바다. 저저냐 바가와 삼네 철은 죽대게 바다. 저저냐 바가와 삼네 철은 죽바다. 근데 저저냐 바가와 삼네 근데 게시쟁와 또 용마 있나? 담비치 저저냐 바가와 냠낸 제비기다 드부다 버려.
So if we contemplate the difficulty of obtaining the freedoms and advantages, and we get a real sense of joy and happiness about our opportunity, and then on top of that, we get the real desire and intention to really enter the Dharma properly and fully, and then subsequently, we actually do fully enter the Dharma, and then eventually become like a Geshe Chengawa. And if we do this contemplation and get these kind of results, then this is the true result of this practice.
다디네야 드네 저저냐 바가와 디시스 바니스 다니바데 나랑서 다 미다베 코트레스.
So now this is the end of the teaching on the difficulty of obtaining the freedoms and advantages, and now we will start the teaching on death and impermanence.
다디나나 조 데미다베 코트레 나나드니 치와미다와 신샤 조 치와라샤요레스.
So here in this contemplation, it's called the contemplation of death and impermanence. So here there's a lot of emphasis placed on death.
대체와 미다발 때네 미다바 신양 슈글라 땡기여 바데 나랑도 고고고요레스.
So if impermanence is taught, if we are taught that impermanence, then if somebody teaches death, rather, then from that teaching of death, then naturally the impermanence in general will also be understood. So we should understand how that works, how those topics are connected.
처음에 다고 책들을 발송해서나 튼니 직송니송 칠라니 Jawan Dupe Longa Machona, Benjing Tonglo Onyedo, Kaldi Chichi Pemba Madumna, Chine Millennium Kala Juru Shebadres.
So the words that we recite for this topic of death and permanence are with each session, I come closer and closer to death. If I do not find the time to accomplish virtue, I risk returning empty-handed from this island of jewels. If I do not accomplish a benefit through the Dharma, how on earth will I get a human body in the future?
Tini Chiksong Nisong Chilangi Sena, Tini Nima Chikdro, Nima Nidro, Nima Sumdro Ina, Tini Manzo Shiela, Tini Nyeru Dugu Yore, Shibitin Res.
So the first line here that says, with each session, I come closer and closer to death. But here, maybe we can understand not session, but more like a period of time, like each morning, afternoon, and night, and so on. With each with each passing period of time, I come closer and closer to death. So what this refers to is that when one day is passed, and then the next day passes, and the next day passes, with each of those days, we are coming closer and closer to death.
Tendo Sesala Tua Nashides, Tendo Sesala Tion, the Combarere, Tabainayan, Tini, Ko Shiel Near Dura, Tenash. Pena, Niman Nogi Tipsoshiness, Niman Nogi Tini Trimate, Sur younger mother, Niman Nogi Trina de Papa Drumarwa.
So a kind of analogy for this is, for example, an animal that is on the way to being slaughtered. When they're being led to that location, that place where they're going to be slaughtered, they come closer and closer with each step. And there's no kind of turning back. They're just going closer and closer to that. And also it's like the shadows cast by the sun. As the sun passes through the sky, the shadow just keeps on getting longer and longer. It's not, as the day gets later and later, it's not going in the other direction. It can never go in the other direction. It's continually getting longer.
Also, Shiela, Neru Dugo, Conteresna, Ripatang Baina, Tini, Naranso Misidita, Loja, how they do Marwa. Lojasana, the Halirwa, and in Sangitu. Loja di Zoyon, the Condenzo Gorasana, Lochik, Loni, Losum, Loshi, Chedipasu, Lodi, variation Zodugora, Janima, Kupchukurku, and a Kupchukurkas and Zodugora, Kazazona, Yungu, the Mount Remindo.
So the way we can contemplate how we are just moving closer and closer to death is we can think about our lifespan as humans in this current time. Generally, we don't live longer than 100 years. Somebody who lives to 100 years is actually very remarkable nowadays. And out of those 100 years, they pass, those 100 years are reduced every year. In other words, when 1 year passes, this is 1 year less from those 100 years, then 2 years less, then 3 years less, then 4 years less. It just keeps getting closer.
Logic zona, Kuchukurgo Lepsarta. Loni zo and Kuchukogiles, Nyungru Dum, the Mangru Yamare.
So if you have 100 years to live and you lose one of those years, it's not going to get added on that then you have 101 years, right? It's only going to get taken away. It's only then going to be 99 years left, and then the next year will be 98, 97, and so on. Our years and time is never added to our life, it's only taken away. And so the main point is that from the day that we are born, in fact, we are just moving closer and closer to death.
말하는 소지 아니 미세디 가리기 세도 그랬으나 로기 세도 로치 로니 로숨제든가 미제정도 미제 세도 다 로디 가리기 세그래 다와 준이기 세도다 다와 직체 니체 손제 다와 준이 조마 로세사 다와디 아니 샤고 숨주기 세기도 니마 직체 니체 숨체 시체든 니마 숨질려나 다와직 조사 어 되네 니마테 추즈 니삽시기 저거도 추즈 직체 니체 추즈 니삽시로나 인zen지 조사 다 추제디 되네 가지도 까르마 두구지기 저거도 까르마 직체 니체 까르마 두구지잖아 추즈지기 조사 딱 까르마 때 가지를 나도 까르자 두구지기 저거로 착착착착착 까르자 두구지잖아 조사 근데 일단 하나 좀 이제 착착착착 까르자 나지 로데 좋아요 여보
So and our life, which we can think of as consisting of 100 years, how do those years get exhausted? How do they get used up? They get used up year by year. 1 year goes, and then the next year goes, and then we can think how do those years leave us? How do they get exhausted? The years are, of course, made up of 12 months. So it's month by month that our years get exhausted. 1 month gone, then there's one less month in that year, and then 2 months, 3 months, 4 months, and so on, until the year is gone. And then, and how do the months of our life get expended? They get expended by the 30 days in 1 month. One day after the other, the month runs out. One day, then 2 days are gone, 3 days, 4 days, and so on. And within each day, again, there are 24 hours. And so the days are lost with the hours. So there's 1 hour gone out of one day, then 2, then 3, until the 24 hours are gone of that day. And likewise, there's 60 minutes in 1 hour. And so the hours are exhausted by means of the minutes. Every minute, the hour is closer to being gone. And then similarly, those minutes are used up in terms of seconds. So 1 second, 2 seconds, 3 seconds, 4 seconds, and so on, then used up, that then exhaust that minute. So in fact, this is the way our life is being exhausted. Every second by second, it's getting shorter and shorter, and it's constantly running out.
근데 네 치워라 레벨이 깨직장 밑에 봐. 깨직이 더기도 한핑 안쪽에 하고 그랬어.
So this is something that we should understand, that in fact death is coming closer every moment, every second.
오늘지 나랑처럼 쇠살을 티바이네 땅 안쪽 빼다가시기로. 이네 단나 나랑처럼 메절랑 안쪽 땅랑 책임인도 로자데 요래. 섬들 즉 로자데 빼면서 각대비 여기서로 상담. 오늘 저는 가요 말아. 깨직라 속도도. 로디.
로디아
각들. 로디. 로자데 요래. 섬다 로디. 그럼 각니 샤는 여기서로 상담 당도.
Yeah, so yeah, we are actually in this way every moment getting closer and closer to death. And if we think about it, we should actually be a little bit afraid of this. We should be afraid of this because just in the same way that we should be afraid when we are slowly heading to a place where we'll be killed, like an animal that may be heading to the place where it's going to be slaughtered. This is actually our situation now, but we don't really think about it. We don't really understand that. And we just think, oh, I have 100 years to live. I have a long way to go. And we have this attitude where we think that way to death is closed off for us, but actually it's not closed off for us.
문제잖아. 다 던져서서 치바 나신 나랑조야 치바지경래 만조야 치다시지라 이마지파 시사들아 치두고요 바로 뒤집니다 받기 치두
So really, to be honest, our situation is actually the same as an animal that's being led to the place where it's going to be slaughtered. Every moment, we are being led closer and closer to our death. This quality of impermanence is actually leading us closer and closer to our death all the time.
근데 인디 다 튼니 직송예송 칠라니 송아레스
So that being the case, this is why it is taught here in our text with each session or with each period of time, each morning, afternoon, evening, and so on. I come closer and closer to death.
근데기 뒤제식 여발라 테는 가랑조기다 개와 두베기 롱갑 마추나스 다 개와스비 값스테니 체디 펜바 체체말라 펜바 상제지 고반탑에 근데지 개와 두베기 테니 뒤제디 가랑라 마추와 이나 세고
So it says, so the next line says, if I do not find the time to accomplish virtue, and so what is referred to here by virtue is what will benefit us in this life and what will benefit us also in the next life and benefit us ultimately by bringing us to the state of a Buddha. This is the virtue. This is the benefit of virtue. So if I don't have the time, if I don't find the time to accomplish that kind of virtue,
테니 나랑조 노자스데 기 고급 예바티 나라 테니 개와 두베기 뒤제시 여래 나랑조 다 딘데지 개와 두베기 뒤제 여바테 테니 낭미 체니 체나 니쿠 니라 클라사 대행하라 양 근데 전에 대바이나 근데 개와 두베기 뒤져 말아
so we actually have an opportunity within this lifespan of ours, which we can say is generally about 100 years. We actually have an opportunity to accomplish virtue within our life, within our lifespan. We have a time where we could do that, but the problem is that we don't consider that time important. We kind of we don't really consider it, and so we spend our time a lot of time sleeping and just enjoying ourselves and getting lost in the objects of the five senses and so on, and then we are not able to use that time.
다 딘데기 개와 두베기 뒤제디 초라 방송아이나 다 개와 두베 롱가 마추나 시바 딘데기 테니 니엘라 립두고요
So we waste our time in that way, but if we are if we are able to avoid wasting our time in that way, then we will really have gotten the key point of this line here, which says, if I do not find the time to accomplish virtue. That's the point of this line, is to not waste this opportunity.
자 딘데기 고급이 여바텔라티니 개와 마두바치는 샤샤바이나 미탁바터기 타초 개와 두비민도 저런 띠지 세는 거 샤기 있으면 미탁바기 샤기를 샤기 말어
and if we don't take advantage of this opportunity, this time that we have to practice virtue, it won't be the case that impermanence will look at us and say, oh, you haven't, you're not taking advantage of this opportunity you have, you're not using all your time, so I'm going to give you a little bit more time to live so you can take advantage of it. That won't happen, right?
미 결부시대도 교배면서 왕자 신부 네바치부지라도 땅에 켈라 로지 유름부 미다베 온도 마탄에 켈라 때 샤기 있으면 미다바게 콜라 스다르 당그레 당금인도와 결과 있나요?
And it's also similarly the case that the impermanence will not say to us, "Oh, you are a very powerful person. You are a leader in the society. You're a king, and so on and so forth." So I'm going to spare you the effects of impermanence for a while, and I'm going to let you stay for a while, and I'm going to save your life in that way. That also won't happen, right? No matter how much power we have or influence we have.
양 미추고 잡아진데 여봐 있나? 되는 컨셉이 계란라 돼. 배샤트네 미다바 평알라 돼 세는 거 땅로치. 미켈라 배샤트 골라나 미다바 닝기돼. 닝기미도 추보 이나야 미다바 도고도. 잘보 pombo 이나야 미다바 온도.
So likewise, if we're really, very rich, there's no way we can kind of bribe impermanence and say, look, I have all this money, maybe I can give you some money, and then you can let me live a little longer, right? You can't really make that kind of deal with impermanence even if we have a lot of money. If we try to say that, try to make that a kind of deal, the impermanence doesn't listen to us, doesn't listen to that kind of thing. So it won't work. So even if you are rich, you cannot do anything about impermanence, and even if you are powerful, also doesn't help.
양 미짱부 사야메 동에메 고야메 메세 짱부 이나야 미다바 교닝제 게네 교티즈 세릉부때 견노론제 싸가스네 그 미다바데기 콜라 치다르 땅기데 땅민도와.
And likewise, for poor, somebody who's really poor has no food to eat, no clothes to wear, no place to stay, and so on. That kind of person, impermanence will not come to that kind of person and say, "Oh, maybe I can give you some conditions so you can live a little bit longer, live a little bit better. I can give you some food and a nice place to stay, and so on." Impermanence will not do that.
죄송합니다. 봤어요. 그래서 따보시라도 미축부 이나야 타르바 땅금인도 미 결보라고 이나야 타르바 땅금인도 미 짱부 이나야 타르바 땅금인도.
So if we think about it in this way, then we understand that impermanence is actually quite kind of a fearsome force. It's a really terrible force. It doesn't care whether you're rich. It won't stop it, even if you're rich. If you're very powerful, that won't stop it. Or even poor people, even if you're poor, that won't stop it. Doesn't stop for anyone.
근데 개와 주에 뒤에 이어디 근데 남산 개와 두버를 마도 미다바 거기 쓰다 땅금인도.
So that being the case, when we have the opportunity to practice virtue, we have to take it right then. Impermanence will not give us any free chances.
미다바기 만솔라 타르바 땅이 메바인디 뒤에 코랑 값수다 개와 두비에기 근데 마총 나왔을라가.
So, given that it's the case that impermanence will not give us any free chances in this way, it won't let us go, then this is why in the text it says, if I do not find the time to accomplish virtue.
렌젤링의 동로원도 스타디 렌젤링의 동로원 수디 가장 공도시선 말에 가대 체집변바 마름나 세땅 알아주게 미세델라 데니데 오늘 랑라 펜토에 셴라 펜토에 세치마 디기 용투비에 딘데 딱과 템바 기로메바 딘데기 디기 용투비에 펜베 체디 드마토나.
So then the next line, which says, I risk returning empty-handed from this island of jewels. I have explained this a while ago. So then to go to the one after that, if I do not accomplish benefit through the Dharma. So the benefit accomplished through the Dharma refers to the attainment of happiness in this life, all the pleasure and happiness in the future lives, and the state of lasting, true, perfect happiness. If I do not accomplish that type of benefit through the Dharma, then
Chini, tene milenye ba kala gyurus, ta ngaranzo milenye barche bala, tene kazang shizwa, ili tube gyugyo pezum sobas chegu guyore, ane jimba kya chimbo tangu guyore, ane sulim sungu guyore se, ta tende sone milenye guyora, tende nganzo ta shogi tona chegu gora, shogi tona macheba ina, ta chimba milenye gumare, se milenye ba kala gyurus.
So if we don't accomplish that kind of benefit through the Dharma, then how on earth will I get a human body in the future? So we talked about this a while ago, how the causes for attaining human bodies a really perfect virtue, a great amount of a really well-performed virtue. And we also have to practice generosity and practice discipline and so on. It's through those factors that will allow us to find a human life, a human body, and then with that human body, we will be able to practice the Dharma. So this is the meaning behind this line. How on earth will I get a human body in the future?
Tene tanda de midabe kapso yang milila drill de yore te milila drill de bu gyumzen kharesana thazurnya barkawa tang tene chewa midagwa ni digi ani chedigi shemba to go chedi tanda ngarang chu mililen de yora te milidan drill de yora mililen de di tene chine milenya ba kala gyurur so milidan drill go di milidan drill wa de gyumzen ter
Milu don Jose.
tanda di chegdi midabe kapso yang milisi shadwa
Oh, las
Mune china mili shago mara mitagwa osu mitagwa zangzang shio kore mato mitagwa kapsu tene mili nye bakala jisu mili del go gumindo mili dan delo ayidi karsana di tajur nye bakawa tang tse mitagwa nipo te tene tse di la shimba dobu che dorwa tse di tanga nazu tse di rwa
right. So then yeah, so it's with that so it's through practicing the Dharma that we obtain a human body. Right. And then so here it's connecting again, referring us again to the human body. And so why is that? If this is the section on death and impermanence, why is it talking about human body again? Well, the human body is connected to here because it is it's only in dependence on the human body that we can practice the Dharma, and it's also through the Dharma that we attain human body. These are Jawa Kare.
ta ngarang tsuki tanda lo do namba shi isi koto lo dogu kudwa lo dogwa tila tene tse di la lo dogwa tse chima la lo dogwa su nyi yorwa tse di la lo dogwa di tene tajur nye bakawa tang tse midagwa nyi yorwa tajur nye bakawa tang tse midagwa nyi di ngarang tsu tse di kirwa tse di ki mii kapsurwa mili dwa
So these two topics are connected. The topic of obtaining the freedoms and advantages, difficulty of obtaining the freedoms and advantages, and the topic of death and impermanence. These both have to do with turning our mind away from our attachment to this life. And the other contemplations have to do with turning our mind away from attachment to future lives. So there's these two ways that our mind, two things that our mind is lets go of, or lets go of the attachment to, which is this life and the future lives. So this is how this line here, when it mentions the human body, it mentions that there because both the precious human body and the the contemplation of death and impermanence, they're connected with reversing attachment to this life. It's going to focus more on this life. And so the two contemplations that of karma, cause and effect, and the faults and sufferings of samsara, these later two contemplations, they turn our mind away from future lives. They reduce our attachment to future lives.
미탁과 셰바이나 최디 제와 잠마이바 최 격보 두비 최 뉴르도 두비 제가 겨워도 그런가 마숑나 세세지가 어디나 근데 담배치 격보 두비 저번에 드루바 잠마세 뉴르도 두비.
So when we contemplate the difficulty of obtaining the freedoms and advantages, this allows us to fully enter the Dharma, and we get a very sense of joy that, oh, now I can practice the Dharma. But the way that this particular contemplation will do that is that we will be a little bit, it's kind of like a more slow way that we will enter the Dharma with that contemplation of the difficulties of obtaining the freedoms and advantages. Whereas this contemplation on death and impermanence, not only will we be inspired and really motivated to practice the Dharma, but it will be very fast. Like we won't just slowly get into the Dharma and practice in a more slow way, but we will be able to do it quite rapidly.
태양 담진유도 마둡나 밀리텔라 딱바요마인 서워 다저nye 바가와데 톱도 사는 가와치네 기부전데 담배체 갈래갈래 둘때 바이나 테 밀리데 테네 딱바때 바요 말에 서워 미다바기 서르당 말와.
So this is what Guru Rinpoche referred to when he said, if you don't accomplish the benefit of this freedoms and advantages now, then this situation of having the freedoms and advantages is in fact impermanent, so it won't last. Although we have those freedoms and advantages, it is these freedoms and advantages are impermanent, and they're going to be eventually lost, and impermanence will not give us a kind of a free pass or save us in any way. And if our human body is not really lasting and not really kind of stable and lasting, then we really have to practice the Dharma, isn't it? So. So when we contemplate the difficulty of finding the freedoms and advantages and the contemplation of death and impermanence, we have to really understand, on the one hand, this situation is so difficult to find, and on the other hand, it's very easy to be lost. So the
면도 ngaso 야 쇼게 쇼게
Mental?
면도yana
Yeah.
치료 감독도
Oh,
면도 세르모 면도 다들 닝조 야고 쇼도 다들 예발가 어디 다들 닝조 야고 쇼죠 편도 전부 쇼죠 옛날에 거be 마서 지글로
So it's also as Padma Sangye has taught. He said, although the flower looks very beautiful in the morning, by the afternoon and the evening,
comes
it will be dried up. It will dry up.
근데 대답 대나신지 루이디래도 루이라 로데메토 팅리와스 아주 밀리르 미제데
Lude Madosa.
루이라 로데메토스 데 루비데 딱와 되기래 에선데 로데사 멘도스고 그 지게래도 쓰고 겹고
So then he said, the flower looks beautiful in the morning, but by the afternoon it will be dried up. So, people of Dingri, he's talking to people of Dingri.
팅리와스나 룽바기 미 팅리스나 룽바레 룽바기 미딘 졸라 팅리와라
So he says, you people of Dingri, which is an area in Tibet, the people of Dingri who's teaching to them, don't kind of like just relax and have kind of like assurance that your body, with regards to your body, because our human body also will decay very quickly. So in the same way that the flower is looks so beautiful in the morning, if you pick it off the plant, and it's very nice in the morning right after it's picked, but then before too long it is dried up and useless. So our body is the same way.
단다인데 만원적이다 만원적이 된데 인직라와인데 그네 만원적다 담배치도 뉴도 드부도와
So given that this is the case, that our body is so easy to be destroyed, so easy to be lost, we have to practice the Dharma right now when we have the chance.
지역지역 그 고갑라도 뒤즈라도 테마타도 대강라 추기냐면 제국이 열었어.
When we get the opportunity to practice the Dharma, whenever we finally get the time to practice Dharma, we should right away do it. We should right away take that opportunity and practice.
자기 나기 단다 디나라 믿어봐 시비기 치기 된다기 드네 디시슈바 인스.
So now I have just explained the meaning of these words that teach death and impermanence. So now I think maybe a good idea to teach a little bit more on this topic of death and impermanence.
네, 단단한 좋다 믿어봐. 퇴바집에 가브레. 네, kenambagi 퇴바집에 가브레. 얘기 시바집에 가브레.
So right now, it's a time that you all are listening to this explanation of the death and impermanence, and it's a time that I am explaining it.
테네 얘기다 미다바든 저안이 기란줄로 태가를 쉐바이나 테네 만한 저지 셈라 따나다 지나라 소바양 계시기레스.
And I thought if I explain to you all very directly this topic of death and impermanence, it's possible that you may be a little bit frightened or disturbed by that.
아니 강다리양 테네 만한 저기다 미다베 코드 니망아 텐데양 고용스 아니 미다베 코드 태가 시주면도스 태가 쉐바이나 테네 미소기 셈나 지나다 따나게 게네 테네 미다베 코드텐서 테네 마셔로낭 스네 슈규요레스 텐데양 고용스.
So I have heard it before, some advice that I've heard people say, if you teach death and impermanence really directly, in a very direct way, then it will make people afraid, it will disturb them, and so on. So please, it's better that you don't teach it directly. I've heard people say that.
강인장롱 티니 미탁배 코텐조 티니 가스고레 년대 메바다고 곰대 메바다고 중송아이나 대중의 존재인데 강래에서나 티니 가랑수다 미탁바 곰베게 티니 페나 마삼바 미탁바 마곰베 네미라 마삼바 이나 티니 다 텐데 아니 중시도 가버레스.
So if we have this kind of feeling when we think about death and impermanence, or we hear about it, that we don't really like to hear about it, we don't really want to contemplate it. The reason that that can happen is that we did not think about the benefits of contemplating death and impermanence, and we didn't think about the drawbacks or negative consequences of not contemplating death and impermanence. If we don't think about the benefits and the drawbacks of not contemplating it, then it's possible we will get this state of mind that we don't want to think about it, don't want to meditate on it.
인데 되네 나란게 삼발라 된다 미다바티 되네 지된텔라 되네 담보 되네 페엔다 니밀라 삼바스 니바데 되네 저와니데 라렌 숨델스 미다바 곰술 담보델라 페엔다 니밀라 삼바스 니바데 미다바 곰술스.
So that being the case, when I was thinking about the topics or the structure within which I should explain this, I came up with the following structure, which is the following topics of structure, which is that the first topic is the benefits of contemplating it and the drawbacks of not contemplating it. And then the second topic is the method for contemplating death and impermanence.
미다바 곰베 페엔덴소 야보 마시바이나 테니 마랑소 미다바 시용베 갑라 테니 셈라 직낭다 따그낭나 소바 끼용레스 미다바 페엔덴소 야보 시송와이나 테니 미다바 녜라 까보 미다바 고메라 까보 텐데 차르레스.
So if we don't contemplate the benefits of this practice of death and impermanence, or the benefits of contemplating death and impermanence, then when we think about the topic or hear about the topic, we will get kind of uncomfortable and scared and disturbed. But if we do contemplate the benefits of contemplating death and impermanence, then when we think about this practice or contemplate it ourselves, we will actually have a kind of inspiration and a joy and be happy to do it. So this being the case, we have to understand how to analyze the benefits of contemplating impermanence, death and impermanence. So for this analysis of the benefits of contemplating death and impermanence, first of all, we should get clear on what are the specific benefits of doing it.
Tene mitakba magumba ina tene mitakba magumbe nyemigla chebas te serna karse gorasana mitakba magumba ina neba kyen kare kare to stela takje chego. Yes.
And then following that, we have to examine what are the faults or drawbacks of not contemplating death and impermanence, what kind of harm will come to us, or what negative effect will there be?
다당보 표현되라 다지셔봐이나 테니 집단기 표현돼 샥술되라 만다와 니여레스 아니 슝가시라 테니 슝경을라 테니 표현돼 시기레스 슝가시 시글라네 테니 슝기 제라 시기여레스 표현돼.
So as for the contemplation of the benefits, or this analysis of the benefits of contemplating impermanence, there's basically two ways that it is done. In some texts and some traditions, it is the benefits of impermanence, the benefits of contemplating impermanence are taught before the contemplation itself. And in other texts and traditions, the benefits are taught after the actual contemplation.
근데 샤용도 까불랑 아랑솔랑 도바지기로 가시지 표현도 강라샤도 가시지 표현도 슝기 슝라샤도 카리나 선배 도바지기로.
And then we might wonder, what is the reason for that? Why in some traditions the benefits of contemplating impermanence are put at the beginning, and why is it that in some traditions they put it at the end?
테 강아레세나 테니 퇴섬조 시베까블라 그리 이나 테니 표현데 슝기 제라 시기도 테니 bomba조 시베까비나 테니 표현데 슝기 원라 시도.
So the reason for these two ways of doing it is that when we are mainly studying and contemplating these teachings, then the benefits of contemplating impermanence are taught after the contemplation itself. And when we are mainly focusing on putting it into practice and actually meditating on it, then the benefits are taught before the contemplation itself.
테니 슝기 원라 표현된 것이 점선데 가르세나 테니 두바 냠는 데 테니 양타바 둑둑당 마둑데 아니 트위 쩐들라라래기요. 저나 두바 냠는 두베 체도 테니 트위 쩐데 깨비 체도.
So the reason that the benefits of contemplating impermanence are taught before the contemplation itself, when we are putting it into practice, are that in order to practice properly and really genuinely, we need a joyful diligence. And so it's for the purpose of generating this joyful diligence that the benefits are taught before the actual practice itself.
두바 냠는 체툭당 마둑 양나 메타파 곰 툭당 마둑데 가왈라라래기 요래 서는 트위 쩐들라라래기 요래. 연된 말리 쩐디 제도신 송어래. 연된 갈침보 상마 쩐디기 제라도 그래 송어래. 트위 쩐디.
The determining factor which will decide whether we are able to practice properly or not, or whether we're able to contemplate impermanence properly or not. The determining factor there is the joyful diligence. And as is said, the diligence is the cause of all good qualities, special qualities. So we need this joyful diligence for this.
계랑라 테니 쩐디 트위 쩐디데 예송아이나 테니 계랑 최냐면 두둑 그래. 메다바 곰도 그래. 아니 계랑라 쩐디 메바이나 테니 레로 남행 왕도 조용도 테니 담배치 두둑고 말해. 메다바 곰도 그 말해. 텐디 연된된서 쩐디기 제라 두고도 와. 쩐디 연나 연된데서 연구도 와. 쩐디 맨나 연된데서 연구면도 와.
If you have this kind of joyful diligence, then you will be able to practice properly. You'll be able to practice genuinely and properly, and you'll be able to contemplate impermanence really well. Whereas if you don't have this kind of diligence, you will fall under the sway of laziness and get distracted and so on. So it's very clear that it is a diligence that allows us to generate these kind of special qualities, and it enables us to practice properly and to contemplate impermanence properly.
Mitaba gomtubati chundila ralagi yana, truve chundila ralagi yana, truve chundu krom kawala tingit. Sena tini phayan la tingit, phayan thongala ralagi.
So if in this way practicing properly and contemplating impermanence properly depends on joyful diligence, then what does diligence in turn depend on? What does diligence depend on? Diligence in turn depends on contemplating the benefits.
Kirangi phayan thongayina, pendo kare kareredo sun kirangi hago ura. Kirangi pendo di chebayina, pendo kare kareredo sun kirangi hago wayina, tene tedaro kirangi laglen terela toa kiroa. Kirangi laglen taro ayina, tene ta tambi chidruptu kiroa, mitaba gomtu kiroa.
So when we contemplate all the benefits of the practice, we understand each one. We understand there's this benefit, that benefit, and so on. And then from understanding those benefits clearly, then we will put those teachings into practice. We will do that practice. And then of course, this will allow us to, this is how it works, how it will allow us to do the practice properly.
Tatindegi pendog yoba teang, tini pendog nubadi shukchimbo yongwar chebe kiente, ani mitaba magubi nyemila samgu.
And then for this, the effect of contemplating the benefits, for that effect to be really strengthened, then we will then contemplate the faults or drawbacks of not doing the practice.
Mitaba magumbi nyemila samlo ya wotangwaina, tini mitaba ki poyendela samlo shukchimbo legide. Mitaba ki poyendela samlo shukchimbo ledi, tini kirangi mitaba te tini nyentu bire. Nyentu bayina, tini mitaba te kirangi gomtu bire.
And so it's when we understand the drawbacks of not contemplating impermanence, then this will give us a great inspiration to do the practice. If we understand the harm that will come from not doing the practice, then it will give us a very strong motivation to do the practice. And then with that strong motivation to do the practice, we will then be able to listen to the teachings on this topic, and we will be able to contemplate it. We will want to contemplate it and put it into practice.
표현 통화를 표현기 누가 숙침보 통화를 제발라 이미 통급이 겸센데 가려서나 별나랑 솔라테니 미신식이 까팅장이나 테니 까팅디 까팅 임바 초르톱도 마도 대 아니 당보 나랑기 깡을 디시도 그거도 이미 깡을디 나랑기 당보 깡을디 나랑기 초로이나 테니 미신기 나랑기 깡을 따라 록바치양도 나랑 깡을디 초톱디 o tanga kangel dinde sheba shine miti yingala rokba chesong sabete miti ki katindi sortugudo pendok katindi sortugudo tenashi pendi 통도 버 제발라 네 예믹디 통고고요 예믹디 통화이나 근데 펜디를 네바 숙초로요.
Yeah, so is through understanding the faults of the drawbacks of not contemplating, not doing the contemplation and the practice, but then we can see, have an even better, stronger understanding of the benefits, and then the benefit, understanding the benefits, then lead us to be able to do the practice. So it's kind of like it can be compared to when somebody helps us and shows us a great kindness and helps us out, to recognize that kindness and recognize all the help that this person has done for us. First, we have to understand what trouble they have saved us from, what suffering they have saved us from. If we really can feel the suffering and trouble that we would have gone through without that person, and then think about how they helped us with that situation, helped us out of that trouble, then we will really understand their kindness and the benefit that they have brought us. So it's the same way here. When we contemplate the drawbacks of not contemplating impermanence, for example, all the harm that will come to us from that, then we will understand even better and in a deeper way the benefits of contemplating it. So in this way, our contemplation of impermanence, this depends on our joyful diligence, right? And then the joyful diligence, in turn, that depends on understanding the benefits of the practice, and understanding the benefits of the practice, in turn, depends on understanding the drawbacks or the harm that will come from not doing the practice.
근데 이제 표현이 당보 시바이나 테니코 미다바 검투베기 뉴바시게 두기도와 대인데 표현이 흉근내라 시베 겸센터를.
So in this way, it really is true that from understanding the benefits of the practice, we will be able to engage with that practice and do the practice, right? So this is why in this tradition, in this one tradition, it is the benefits of the contemplation are taught before doing the practice itself.
표현대 되니 흉기지에서 잡아도 겸생 가르스나 되니 당보 흉디마 드시갑 용도 드시갑 차를 제라 되니 오다 흉디라 되니 기랑기 냠린 쳐바이나 몽발라 기랑기 냠린 쳐바이나 다딜 팬도 된데 요르다스.
So now, as for the second way, where the benefits of the practice are taught before the practice itself, which is related to study and contemplation, the way that this works is that the topic, where the benefits of doing the practice are taught after the contemplation itself. Here, first the topic is explained and taught, and completely through the whole topic, and then after the explanation is finished, the benefits of doing this practice are taught. And the way that it works is that the benefits are taught at the end in such a way that the message is given that, so now when you do this practice in the future that you have just learned about and studied, you will get this and that, such and such a benefit from it.
근데 시용도 표현도 제라 시용도 몽발라 양코 양결디 강 취시샤바가 될라더니 냠내라 야파 주게라 더니 position 보여.
So this way of explaining the benefits after the main part of the teaching itself, this is actually has a great purpose in that it will cause us to want to do this practice later on. If it's taught after the main practice, it serves that great purpose.
몽발라 더니 거의 양결 될라더니 코랑기 녜샤바 더니 삼샤바 될라더니 양결 냠내라 죽투베 균 맞춰봐 주게 되니 편도요. 되는데 그런데 제일 10점 되는.
So the benefits are taught after the main explanation. So in order to make one engage in the future with that same topic in meditation and then actually putting into practice. So this you hear about all the benefits after the contemplation, and then you can get the idea, you will really get the inspiration that, oh, okay, then now there are these benefits. So later on in the future, I want to get those benefits. So I will do this practice again, and I will actually meditate on it and so on.
Oh yeah, that's right. 표현 고라 샤프 김센당 드네 표현 슝기지라 샤프 김센데 슈바 인사 다른 게 뒤져도 되라 정도 있을 때 뭐만 지금 있어.
So now I've explained this why the reason for explaining the benefits before the main part and reason for explaining the benefits after the main part today. So now our session is finished. Let's recite the dedication of aspiration.
손남대 담제 세바니 톱네 네베 다남 밤제 대 쟁가나 젬발란 troba 시베 졸레 로안 로와라쇼